Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Michael Reed and Mr. Todd Wright, who's stepping in for Michael Hall today. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. And we are rejoined from the Washington Times, Mr. Matthew Paris. How are you doing on this great, fresh week of Commanders football with training camp wrapping up? It's a hot, humid Friday. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well, hanging in there. It's been pretty busy and eventful so far, but I'm in the best shape of my life, to use a training camp cliche, but not really. So it's fine. I'm going along here.
I got you, man. We're all struggling trying to get through it, right, Matt? But before we get into what happened today, I would like, if you could you just give a brief recap of what happened on days 1 and 2 of training camp so far?
Yeah, it's been from an on-field standpoint, it's been a very much a work in progress for Carson Wentz getting used to this system. The defense has clearly had the edge over the offense in the two first days here, the first 3 days really. And so, you normally see that around the NFL. That's not normally, that's not outside the ordinary, but you can definitely tell Carson Wentz is working through some kinks, and those are the main things that have stood out so far.
Absolutely. Now, Reed, your question is up. I apologize. You just got here a little late. We started early.
I was about to say late. It's all good. So okay. All right. Is it Dad's turn? Yes, it is. That's what that means. All right. So Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, those two, of course, they're expected to carry a big portion of the passing offense. What have you seen from both of those guys? Does Terry seem to have chemistry with Carson Wentz at this moment? I know people thought it would take a little bit, and has Jahan continued his kind of impressive streak?
Yeah, both are still, I think, a work in progress. You've definitely seen Carson try and target Terry down the field, it's hard to get a sense of the rhythm between the guys because completions are kind of so far and few between. Like, they're completing passes, but they're checks downs. They're not anything splashy. Like, there have been a couple deep down the field shots, and
there's the one
Dotson yesterday had one.
The one that they posted on Instagram.
Deep down the left sideline, and a couple plays after that one, Wentz tried the other side to McLaurin, and Troy Apke was actually there, of all people.
Oh, wow!
So I don't know if McLaurin just
that's new
or Apke made the play, but it's still kind of a work in progress. But I would say Dotson, he hasn't looked as impressive as he did in the spring when he was catching everything, but you do see the smoothness, the ball control. Those are encouraging things that I think will translate to the NFL level once this regular season starts. But this is just an offense that hasn't found their rhythm yet, and I think that's okay given how early it is.
Yeah, and with those guys, being a work in progress, I wanted to go into something that's shouldn't be a work in progress and should be a strength, which is the D-line. We've heard that they've been active early in training camp. Can you give us a little deep dive into what you've noticed?
Yeah, the guy who really pops there is Montez Sweat, and that's really encouraging to see if you're a Washington fan because, he had a quiet year last year, only had 5 sacks, dealt with a lot of tremendous personal adversity with the death of his brother and also a broken jaw, but, he's really getting off the edge in a timely manner. He's always had that speed, but he really is seizing on those mismatches. He had a moment in camp yesterday that he was matched up with a tight end, and he was yelling, "Don't put no tight end on me! Don't put no tight end on me!" And
they definitely shouldn't. Yeah,
he made him play. If that was a game if that was a play in a real game, he would have crushed Carson Wentz. So, the pads aren't on yet, so you can't read too much into it. But the D-line does look like they're generating a lot of pressure, and these quarterbacks have taken a lot of would-be sacks so far.
Yeah, and speaking of, the secondary has made a name for themselves for the first week of training camp here, Matt. And communication has been something that Coach Rivera and obviously Chris Harris that's something that he does not lack in. But what have you noticed from the secondary? Do they look, if you're looking at it from last season to this season, do you notice a difference?
Yeah, I do. And I think what pops there is the continuity is really paying off. This is a team that it's kind of interesting, right? Because they were so statistically poor last season. You would think that they would try and maybe make some more changes or whatever, but they did start to hit the rhythm a little bit as the year went on before COVID struck. And so, that they brought back mostly every spot. The only spot among the starters that's different is Benjamin St. Juste is now your traditional nickel corner, even though he's not traditional at all because he never played the position before this season. But, he's replaced Landon Collins in that spot. And it's given a lot. I think it's worked well. He's big there. He's 6'3". He really seems to be picking it up well. And the rest of the guys, they just seem to know their spots. And I think the clear difference you can tell is with a guy like William Jackson. Terry McLaurin was kind of beating him all over the field last year in training camp. It was really noticeable his transition to this scheme from a man-based defense in Cincinnati to a zone defense in Washington. And he just kind of blends in with the rest of the secondary. And I think that's more so as a group. They all just kind of blend in together. No one guy really sticks out. And I think that's actually a really good thing for Washington for a change.
Right. Yeah. And I know you touched on it a little bit, but the Buffalo position is something that we've talked about all offseason, all Washington fans have. Who is really filled in there, and what players can we kind of expect to have a shot at that role?
Yeah, I don't. Like Jack Del Rio kind of laughed about it earlier in this offseason that maybe we, the collective media or whatever, made a little bit too much of the Buffalo nickel. It was just more so they were deploying 3 safeties because that was what they thought was the best option. But it looks like Benjamin St. Juste is going to get the nod here. At least I know it's early, but he's gotten a lot more playing time over, say, I think Derek Force has had a really nice camp. He was a guy that was really a huge mystery coming into this because he had basically no playing time last year. Percy Butler, I think, has popped, especially with the backups, but he hasn't really gotten a lot of opportunities or really no opportunities with the ones. So it looks like they're really kind of leaning toward more of a, your cornerback rather than a safety. But if they do go with that 3 safety look, then I think Derek Force right now over Butler. And we'll see. Jeremy Reeves, I think maybe would be an option as well. But, I would lean Forrest if they wanted to go just the safety look.
Nice. Going back to the other side of the ball, because, we got Carson that's a work in progress, but I wanted to ask about another work in progress, Sam Howell. He's said to be looking good so far. Is there anything more to that? Is there any way that he's going to give Carson a little run, maybe further down the line in the season? Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't think so, but
it would like if Sam Howell plays in 2022, what year is it? 2022.
What year
it would be a disaster for Washington. It would just mean the Carson Wentz experiment was just a complete and utter disaster, that they pulled the plug on it, or that he was hurt and they were rebuilding and wanted to see. But having said that, Howell looks a little bit more comfortable. I thought today was his best day. Really kind of pushing it down the field, having that chemistry with some of the receivers there. And he's just, he's still relatively new and getting used to it. But what Washington is asking their quarterbacks to do, I think he understands it very well. And his style kind of lends itself to what Scott Turner would like to do for his scheme. But, he's very young. He's very inconsistent. He's a project as a 5th round pick. And I think we've seen that so far.
Yeah, and then some news that happened this week that AGG retired, and that move meant that Washington could activate Chase Roullier off of the PUP list, and so his day at practice was today. But at the same token, Trey Turner, I think Coach said, something happened with his quad. So if you can, talk about how big of an impact it is to have Chase Roullier back in the lineup, and then who was replacing Trey Turner at that right guard spot for today.
Right. So with Chase Roulier, even though he came off the physically unable to perform list to yesterday, rather, um, today would have been his first practice. He practiced a little bit in individual drills. How practice is set up. There's individual drills, and then they transition to the team stuff. But he's not doing any team stuff yet.
Right.
So what you saw mostly today is Wes Schweitzer at center, and that's how it's been since Roulier went down because Tyler Larson is also hurt. And then at right guard, it's mostly been Sadiq Charles, who's okay. He's still. I don't know if he's ever really going to get there, but he's held his own so far. But what was interesting about today's practice specifically is midway through it, they gave Keith Ishmael some run at center, and they kicked over Schweitzer at guard. It felt like they're really starting to kind of experiment with those line spots if Trey Turner's going to be out. But what I'm kind of interested to see once Roulier came back, how much of a competition is that right guard spot actually going to be? Schweitzer going to get the nod? They just got to stick with Turner given what Rivera and do in Carolina. That spot might be a little bit more open than I thought coming in.
Yeah, and I know that we can't really get too much into this because, of course, they don't have pads on yet. But give us Washington fans some hope. How has Jamin Davis looked?
He's blended in with the defenses look.
He hasn't stuck out being bad though, right?
No, he hasn't.
Okay, good.
It was a little bit more noticeable in OTAs when they were experimenting with the lineups a little bit more. It was like, oh, what is David Mayo doing playing ahead of Jamin Davis? Is this something to be like? How much should we put in? Like, how much stock should we put into this? But so far in camp, it's really been Holcomb Davis. And I think from a reliability standpoint, that's what you want to see. You just want to see Jamin Davis be consistent, to be able to be on the field at least. Because if you look at his snaps last year, he really only had 4 games where he played, I think, 70% of the snaps. And Holcomb, he met that threshold in every game. So Davis is a first-round pick. We all know that, the 19th overall pick. He just kind of needs to show that he's worth that selection at the very least. And I think he's taken steps towards that.
Well, I'm going to be honest. As far as these guys go, I'm probably the dumbest one when it comes to football. So I'm going to ask a fun question now. One of the fans asked Carson Wentz for his wedding ring. So any other just fun stories to come out of camp just to keep people like me entertained?
Yeah, today they had a veteran, like a military veteran, address the group, and like his message afterwards was kind of like inspiring, and so like never quit, could do that, and so always push through. And so pushing through meant push-ups for the rookies. They had a push-up challenge to end.
Who won?
This. I know Trey Walker, undrafted linebacker. He was right in it at the end. I don't know if he won or it was a defensive back whose name is escaping me at the moment. But
Christian Holmes?
Christian Holmes tapped out a little bit earlier. But it was him, and it was also an undrafted guy. It wasn't.
Oh wow! Okay.
Okay. They're trying to make their mark there. I still like that.
So it was cool to see. Well, because it was like as cool as it was, it kind of sucked from a media standpoint because all the guys were huddled around them, and like you just saw these kids kind of like peering through, like trying to see feet, and you didn't even know it was like the rookies at first. It's like, what's going on? Like then you kind of saw jerseys like. I noticed a yellow jersey, and I was like, is that Sam Howell? And then I saw Chris Paul's number and Christian Holmes. So you
pieced it all together.
Yeah, but it was fun. Percy Butler said that he tapped out at 25, and that's when most guys started to. So, but the goal was 50, and I think guys got it. Those 2 guys that I mentioned got there at the end.
Do you know if Carson gave the fan his wedding band? And
No.
And did you hear any comments like, God, man, these Commanders fans? First, I get told that I hope that I prove somebody wrong. Now I'm told.
Yeah, no. I think he tried to handle it as polite as possible.
Yeah,
right. Weirded out, but I'm sure.
Inside, he was like, "Why the hell would I give you this?"
It's a wedding band. Why am I?
Yeah, that looks bad on the fan. That does not look.
No, I know.
That was such a weird thing. Now, to finish this up, Paris, I only have a couple more questions for you. But one guy that's banged up is John Bates. Looks like Coach Rivera said they're being precautionary with him. That means that Cole Turner and company, Amari Rogers, they're getting a lot of run. So how have they looked?
Yeah, I realized I forgot to name Cole Turner on. I did a radio hit earlier, and I forgot to completely mention Cole Turner. So
what are you gonna
do? But besides Cole Turner, it's really wide open after that. What you're seeing a lot so far in camp, seeing Cole Turner run with the runs, but they normally have, if they go with like 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, that second spot is really wide open. It's Samus Reyes sometimes, who I think has made meaningful strides. His hands are still very much a work in progress, but it's good to see him out there after he missed the spring. Armani Rogers was actually the tight end who Montez Sweat beat really badly, but it seems like he's gotten some run. And the guy who always, if I have a guy on this roster that I just, every time he does something, I'm like, who is that again? Like in a good way. His name's Curtis Hodges.
That's who Logan Paulson's very high on.
Yeah, he just really seems to be in the right place. Good size. Caught this bullet over the middle the other day from Carson Wentz. And so he pops every once in a while. I don't necessarily know if he'll make the roster or anything, but he's a guy that, he's very interesting to me, and comes from Arizona State. So
6'8".
Those three so far, besides Cole Turner, who is really used as a vertical threat, kind of down the field, middle. That competition is wide open.
And then, Matt, 2 guys that were held out precautionary as well was Antonio Gibson and Curtis Samuel, which means that the rookie Brian Robinson and second-year wide receiver Diami Brown got a lot more snaps with the first team and second team guys. So how did those 2 look with the extra snaps?
Yeah, Diami Brown had the play of the day today just because Carson Wentz was about to throw an interception and Kendall Fuller even had it. And then as they were going to the ground, Brown just yanked it from him and hauled it and kept control. So that was really impressive, a really strong move, good speed down the field. And Brian Robinson, his size just really, really pops. And Randy Jordan, the running backs coach, just, you can tell that he is really kind of enamored with them during those position drills. You can hear him saying, good rep, and really kind of, I think he's really excited to have Robinson into the fold just because his size gives him something that they just haven't had in a long time.
Yeah, and then the last question I have for you, Paris. Chase Young, Ron Rivera said today in his presser, looks like most likely he'll start out in the pup, especially for week 1. He will not be there. So now looking at that defensive end, do you think that the coaching staff is confident in their group that they have behind Chase Young, or do you think they're going to go shopping for a free agent?
No, I don't get that sense. I mean, they added F.A. Obata in the offseason. That was actually one of their rare moves of a guy who didn't really, an outside free agent. And so they have him there. James Smith-Williams has gotten the nod. They have Casey Toohill as well. So I think they're going to stick with these younger guys. If they, Ryan Kerrigan retired today, but when he was still a free agent, it's like, oh, would they be interested in a reunion? But that wasn't the case. And so, they're really going to rely on that youth. They have a lot of youth at that position behind Chase Young. And so they're just going to really ride that through and see how they do.
Who's going to be the first one to get a sack and do the HBK? Someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah, someone's. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
it's going to be Cole Holcomb.
Guy.
We know it's going to be Cole.
Is it?
It's got to be Cole with the mullet. He's going to do the HBK. But, Matthew, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I know you're burnt out from the first couple of days here at training camp, but hopefully you go get some rest tonight, sir. Get ready for tomorrow, and look forward to that off day on Sunday, sir. I really appreciate you joining us.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks,
Have
man.
a good night, sir. I love talking to Matt because he's very upfront. He's very straight up to the point. He doesn't screw around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Matt's always got some good nuggets, especially now that training camp's finally going on. We finally have some real news.
Stuff to actually talk about, boys.
I know.
Dude,
it's not just
I know,
speculation at this
the
point.
big
Well, it is in a
news.
way, but
Nobody talked about the push-up contest. That was really cool. Push-up challenge.
That was, I'm glad to hear about that. That was, entertaining for Neanderthals like myself.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest. We all know that if I was in that, I probably would have won by a fairly wide margin. But it's nice to see that some of the undrafted guys stuck around till the end.
I've seen you do 100, 150 at one time,
Easy.
man.
Oh yeah, especially after a full day of working out.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
That's-
easy.
Yeah, dude,
I mean, I don't wanna
150,
flex,
151,
scare people,
you got the
I
bench press coming up. But I wanted to get your guys'
yeah,
opinions.
no, I could probably lift a small gym.
I wanted to get your guys' opinions. Todd, I'll go to you first about the lack of numbers,
Midget
you could
ninja.
say, from training camp, because a lot of people are talking about saying that Washington fans aren't excited about going to training camp. What was your what was your reaction to seeing those numbers yesterday?
I can't blame anyone for not going. It is training camp, and of course now my dog's gonna go crazy. But at the end of the day, like it is just training camp. We're gonna see people. People are gonna be excited. They're gonna be out at the stadium for the new team, new jerseys, new name. It's gonna feel different, and I don't think training camp really is gonna be a big reflection on that. It's a little bit different, right? Like it can be low. They're not wearing pads. It is what it is.
Right. And like that's how I kind of viewed it. It sucks that the numbers are low. I was trying to figure out why that was the case, because when Hall and I went to OTAs, there was a good amount of us that went, and that was just OTAs. It's not even training camp. And so I was wondering why the numbers were low. And I was thinking like maybe just like conspiracy theoried out, like maybe like it got botted, right? And so Washington ended up selecting for their lottery a bunch of ghosts essentially that didn't exist, or they rewarded their season ticket holders by giving them a very personal, up and close kind of practice session, which is very personal and something keeps you close. And I think that's a really good idea. You should be rewarding the people who are showing up for you at your stadium. And if that's the case, I don't have any problem with it. But if you want to be at training camp, you got to buy season tickets, and I don't see any issue with that, honestly. What about you, Reed?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't. It is what it is. It sucks. It's kind of embarrassing. It's one of those things where like Pat McAfee, I know, released a video today and he was talking about numbers at training camps all around the league. And like, I didn't even want to click on it because I was like, I already know what their hate of the Commanders lately. I know we're going to be one of the first things they talk about, and it's going to be bad. So it's obnoxious and it sucks. But at the same time, like Todd said, it is just training camp. It's a little disappointing because I mean, you think with this new rebrand, I mean, people have been excited. So I don't know the reason. I don't know why people haven't shown up, but it sucks, but it is what it is. It's just training camp.
You're talking about the perks for being the season ticket holders, and that's definitely a good little perk. But I gotta be honest, we get to hold our family fantasy football draft at the stadium because we're season ticket holders. They're hosting us there, and I was like, wow, this is sweet. We get to do it in the suite, and they're gonna have like alumni walking through. I was like, this is we need. Let's
jealous,
go.
Dude.
You can get some
jealous.
help via Santana Moss.
I mean, if I find that we need an extra person or two, I'll definitely hit you guys up to play in the league.
Yeah,
it's funny.
It's not going to be the most competitive, but
it's funny because Hall and I were just talking because we need to find a place to have our fantasy football league for our big money league with all the drunkies guys, and that would be awesome to do it at FedEx Field. How cool that would be! Not even
so sweet.
Bringing up the fact that alumni is going to be coming through, right? That's really cool, Todd. Glad they did that. But let's go to our fan questions before we are joined by our next guest, who is at training camp today. This is from Tim Towner. He sent me this last night. So, Reed, I'm going to go to you first. His question is, preseason, do you have any concerns because we do not have any joint scrimmages? Are you worried we might start slowly in the first few games because of this? And should we play starters more in the preseason to get into playing shape?
This is one of those things. This is like an age-old question. Comes up every year about how long do you play your starters. I personally, I'm somebody who like before preseason starts, I'm like, get them all out there. We need to get them as much reps as possible. The first time somebody gets hit awkwardly, I'm like, get everybody out, get Terry off the field. I don't want him playing another snap this preseason. I don't care. The guys who are good and who are going to make the roster, they're going to be fine. But yeah, it's frustrating. You want to see the starters as much as possible, but at the same time, you don't want to see anybody because you don't want to risk anybody getting hurt. But as for the scrimmages, I mean, it doesn't happen every year that we scrimmage teams. I mean, it is what it is. I think you would like to, because you would like to get some more playing reps against, obviously, if you're a football player, playing against a different body is always good, not going up against your teammates. But I mean, it doesn't happen every year anyway. And every time I think about us scrimmaging, I just keep thinking back to D'Angelo
Hall,
destroyed by DeAndre Hopkins on Hard Knocks, and it always makes me think, maybe it's good that we don't have anybody that we're playing against right now.
That was exactly what I was thinking. Was
Yeah.
D'Angelo Hall is the first thing that happens in my brain every time.
We're scarred from that.
It's so bad.
I was listening to D Hall on the NFL Network the other day, and he called ATL home, and I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? Makes a whole lot of sense. But I think
ATL, how about ACL?
It does kind of concern me with the joint scrimmages because the lack of preseason games. They took away one. You only have 3. And of those 3, how many snaps are you really getting with the first team? So it is concerning because you'd like to see them go against competition that doesn't know what's coming. That's a better way to be able to gauge your offensive and defensive playbook because this isn't an offense or defense they've seen every day. And like naturally with you, like you adapt and you learn what's coming based on the formation. So in practice, it's easy for the defenders to know what you're going to do and stuff like that. Whereas in these joint scrimmages, the defense does not have that luxury because they're as surprised as you are. And so it's good for both parties. But with the preseason, I am very concerned about the injury aspect. Last season with the Colts, Carson got banged up in the preseason, which cost him 3 weeks of that. And you could see that early in the season, it really did put them back. It set them back. They started slowly. And so if I'm Ron Rivera and Coach Rivera, which obviously I'm not, don't have that intellect, but just start slow with Carson. You know, you don't need to overdo it, but that being said, in practice, you have to maximize the reps because once you feel comfortable, if you think you have a good amount of the playbook there, then there's no need to throw them on the field and get subjected to being destroyed before the season even starts. Because I think keeping Carson healthy is objective number 1. What do you think?
Amen. I mean, you have to keep these guys healthy. You have to keep Carson healthy. You've put all your eggs in the Carson basket. I mean, I said something about Sam Howell earlier, but let's face it, that's nothing. Heineke is great as a backup, but everything this season is riding on Carson. And you got to keep him. You got to keep Terry. You just gave Terry a big extension. You need to keep him healthy. You got to give everyone as much time. Like, honestly, I hate preseason just because it's great. It's great to evaluate young talent, in my opinion, but no, it's too much risk to your starters.
Right.
I mean,
it's one of those things where it's like the Curtis Samuel thing. He was injured basically all last year. You don't want that to happen again. But then on top of that, like with the young guys, like you said, like I remember Sean Taylor's rookie preseason where against the Broncos in the Hall of Fame game where he had those like 2 or 3 picks and it was just like, this guy's going to be a stud. Like you can tell.
Get him off the field immediately.
Right. Yeah. So you want to see that, but at the same time, you don't want to see anybody that you like out there.
And then Jordan Reed too. Jordan Reed's season was cut short of a concussion in preseason, right?
Yeah.
And that's
which time?
Which concussion we're talking about.
And then last season, it sucks to say, but Jimmy Moreland going and tackling J.K. Dobbins at the preseason. Yeah. And I said it right then and there. I was like, that just ended his season, dude. And it sucks. So you don't – that is obviously a possibility. So you want to be careful of that. But
I remember last year real fast, just looking at the numbers, I never got my props for this, but saying for a month before training camp that Jimmy Moreland might – I don't think it'll happen, but I think there's a chance he could get cut. And what happened?
Hey, that was a good call.
Because I'm like kind of like I can see into the future. I think I've heard.
He went to the.
Dude, I loved him.
Yeah, me too.
I know, so did I. We had him on. He was so funny. We asked him something
about Mia Khalifa.
And he automatically that was like his response. He was like, "Oh yeah, man."
No, but the funniest part was when he looked around to see if anyone was around him. He was
and
like,
then his family was there. Yeah,
that was awesome.
Hey, good old JMU boy, right?
I know, man. Absolutely. Now, thank you so much, Tim. That was awesome. Our next question is from the Colonel who texted me this. Reed, I want to go to you first. Why is everyone gaffing off AGG's early retirement after just 2 seasons? He was a 4th-round pick. Terry was a 3rd-round pick. Was he playing so poorly that it was a no-brainer to him to retire? WTF, Reed?
I mean, I think it's fairly obvious with him that, like, he did have so much potential in his size, but the fact that they wanted to switch him to tight end, I think was a little bit concerning. The fact that he didn't get as much playing time at all when he was playing wide receiver is a little concerning. I think it's obvious. Maybe his head just wasn't in the game. Maybe he just didn't love football like he thought he did. I mean, that's no slight against him. That's just not for everybody. I mean, and I think you can kind of see that with his production and what we saw from him. And it's at least he realized it now and not 5 years down the line where he's trying to make a team and he's getting concussion after concussion. Like, you don't want to risk that. So shout out to him. But yeah, I think it is kind of odd that seeing somebody retire this young, but it happens a lot more than you think this day and age in the NFL.
Yeah, I thought the conversion to tight end was the writing on the wall. Essentially, they said, look, this is a really stacked room at wide receiver right now, and your best chances to make this roster is at tight end with your skill set.
Stacked room at tight end.
Yeah, and so that makes obviously a lot of sense. But that being said, with AGG last season, didn't they like release him and put him on the practice squad at some point? And I remember Orange Crush 92 had asked us like, what's going on with this with AGG last season? And I asked the question back to him. Maybe he's not fully bought in. You know, maybe there's something going on there that he doesn't know if he's fully into football or not. And obviously that answer has been proven today and I don't fault him for it at all. You know, go back and get your degree, dude. That's going to set your life up forever. And who says that you couldn't find a way back into this league after you get your degree?
Exactly.
You could go to the XFL, the USFL, whatever it is that's coming up.
Try out at any time.
Right. Any team would be able to. Anyone that's strapped for a wide receiver is going to be able to work him out and see.
Hey, you have tight ends now. People saw what happened with Darren Waller.
Absolutely.
Now, I understand that it was a 4th rounder, and that obviously means a lot. And there's that's heavy, you could say, to an extent. And I get that. I totally do. But you could kind of see how everything was last season, where they were very thin at wide receiver. They were down to Adam Humphries was their second leading receiver in yardage last season, or behind J.D. McKissick, obviously, with Terry McLaurin have over 1,000 yards. So they didn't have many wide receivers showing up last season, and AGG wasn't getting any run. And so that kind of showed you like what was going on, that not even close to being ready, you could say, and being fully bought in was something that I was questioning. And it's not his fault, but that being said, that is a big setback for this organization.
So actually, now that I'm thinking out loud, sorry to just throw this out there, but with him retiring, do we still own his rights if he does come back? If he does unretire?
That's actually one of Colonel's questions on there. And I'm pretty sure that is the case. If he does come back,
I thought when they retired,
because
it's like I'm pretty sure you would have 2 years left on his deal with the Commanders, because you signed to say I'm going to be here for 4 years. That's the rookie
something like
contract, and so that's what you would have to live up to that. Just because you retired doesn't like wash it away, you could say.
Damn.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense. Now let's move on to our next question, which is coming from the Discord chat server. Our guy, Mr. Jeff Miles, who is you guys remember he's traveling back and forth for this the canvas at FedEx Field. You heard about this, Todd?
I very small bits and pieces.
Okay. Now this next question from Jeff is: happy retirement to the HBK. What's your favorite Ryan Kerrigan moment, Todd?
Oh my God. My favorite Ryan Kerrigan moment. I don't know that I have just one that sticks out. I mean, right. Every single sack and him hitting the HBK and just like him soaking it up. Like he was just the man. He was Mr. Redskin, Mr. Commander now, I guess. But like, I don't know. Brain melting here. He just was that guy. Everyone had like their love of him. He just was around for so long. I don't know.
My favorite memory of him is probably when he had the interception or sack at the late in the game. I think it was 2020. He had the sack late in the game to secure the victory versus
Dallas
against the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that was 2019.
There was also the one that he had in the end zone where he stripped Dak Prescott against the Cowboys in Week 17, and Preston Smith picked it up for the touchdown. And also his rookie year, man, the interception returned for a touchdown. I believe that was
against
his
the
first
Giants.
game. Yeah, he had a couple of those where it was like every year for like 3-4 straight years. He led off the season with a pick six, and it was super interesting to see Ryan Kerrigan doing that.
Yeah, dude, it was a lot of fun watching him grow up. Obviously through this franchise,
never missed games until the end.
Yeah, I mean, this was a really cool moment. I just wanted to say, because Ryan Kerrigan obviously still was tied to this organization. You could say, even though he played for Philly last season, he was still close by, and that was something that we were like talking about, discussing. Maybe that's why he signed with Philly, just because it is very, very close to DC. His family wouldn't have to move that far or anything like that. And obviously, this was a smart move, because I think Ryan Kerrigan should have retired a Commander, and that's one of those good news, good like touchy-feely type things you feel good about, because Ryan Kerrigan deserves it, man.
Yeah.
He was
He's somebody
Absolutely.
I would have loved
said
to
it
see
so
in a
long.
Commanders jersey.
I said it for so long that like Mike Shanahan deserves a lot more credit for building the building blocks here, the foundation of this franchise with Trent Williams or Ryan Kerrigan. For so long, Ryan Kerrigan was just so underrated, but I'm glad that he was able to retire here. And as a Commander, cool enough.
Yeah. Like I said, I wish we would have seen him in a Commanders uni. That would have been.
He goes in the Ring of Fame, right?
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt. Does it happen this year?
It should. I mean, I would think he would be one of the first people on there, right? I mean, with how long he played, the Pro Bowls, just being a premier position, like he's got to be.
It's got to be this year.
Yeah, he's been arguably. I mean, outside of Trent, he's been the best Redskin Washington football team player over the last decade. So he has to.
Yeah,
that's a good point. And now we are joined by our next guest, Mr. George Carmi from Full Press Coverage, who was at training camp today. What's up, George? How you doing?
Up. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great. I don't know how you're still walking around, dude. I'm sure you had a rough day today.
Dude. Long day today. It was fun, though. Good times.
Absolutely. And so I wanted to do a little quick roundtable discussion with you about your experience at training camp today before we get into fan questions to wrap up this episode. My first question to you, Carson Wentz, how did this offense look? Obviously, the past couple of days, it's been well noted that the defense really had command over them, but it looks like they had a bounce back day to day. So from your opinion, from your eyesight, what did you see from Carson Wentz?
So Carson, I think is as advertised. I think he definitely has a big arm, definitely has some zip on the ball. I mentioned in a video I produced earlier, there's definitely some layers to it, right? Like Heineke's arm is by far stronger than Howell's. Like Howell's is number 2 on the list, and then it goes to Heineke. I don't want to cause any controversy or any like hot topics in the Washington circles right now, but I'd say the assessment that Wentz is a little bit inaccurate. I started to see that today. It was pretty wild. Like he had some zip on the ball. It was like the balls were high and the balls were low. And luckily, Jahan Dotson and McLaurin could adjust to it and catch to it. Maybe he had a bad day, but there definitely was like a lot of high balls that basically Jahan Dotson had to catch. The one nice thing I did like about Wentz is you can tell he's professional. He's been there before. Like he walked up to the line, had total command of the whole huddle. He was quick. Like in regard to 3-step drops and throw a quick pass, it was like innate for him. It was very natural for him to do. So that was really cool to watch him do that. And I think we're gonna be fine. I think as a Washington fan base, we're gonna be happy with him as quarterback. But it was interesting. It was like the guy being running across the field is like, woo, like vert leap to catch the ball. Like, where's that coming from, dude? So definitely saw that a couple of times. So I was interested.
Absolutely, dude, and it's great to hear that about Carson, dude, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, you love it, like you said, as advertised. I mean, as long as we don't set our expectations way too high, then I think everybody should be fairly happy, like you said. But keeping it with quarterback, I know, Todd, you asked this a little bit to Matthew Paris earlier, but Sam Howell has been all the rage all over Twitter today. Everybody's been talking about he had a great day. This is the best day. He looked the best out of quarterbacks out there. What did you see from him? And I mean, did you see that? You think this guy's got some potential to stick around in the league?
So it's interesting. So I guess maybe I miss, so everything's so chaotic when you're actually on the field. Yeah. So Howell's he's played pretty well. He didn't come off to me as this dominant performer, but maybe I just missed his throws. Right. I just saw that all the quarterbacks played pretty well. Like the way it worked was they kind of escalated their offense, right? It started off with running game, they had running game packages, first 10, 15 reps. Then they started doing short passes, wheel routes and slants and stuff like that. Then they started going deep. And during that first 2 phases, the offense was cooking, man. It was awesome. It was actually really cool. It was every quarterback would walk in. Wentz was throwing some dimes. Wentz was throwing some bullets. Heineke, I got to give him credit. Everyone kind of craps on him now, whatever, but I got to give him credit. He throws in rhythm, man. It was his balls do not have the velocity. It's like us throwing a football out there. Right. It really isn't impressive at all. But the one nice thing about it, exactly. But the thing is, he would throw the ball, and for me, from a standard, casual perspective, oh damn, it's gonna be a pick. He threw the ball, and then the wide receiver would break right underneath. I was he would hit him in stride, which is pretty cool. Howell played well. He had a great deep shot to Diamond Brown earlier during practice. I was asked what talk of the town today. But, to be 100% honest, he wasn't I didn't
That jump
to
out
me.
at you like
It didn't. It wasn't like he's like whatever. It's,
it wasn't like a
Trevor Lawrence or anything. I didn't notice that one
Right.
today, but maybe I was maybe I was missed it. Who knows?
And to your point about Carson Wentz hitting that early in rhythm slant route or whatever, that's something that Washington has not had for a long time. What comes to mind is Aaron Rodgers with that Devontae Adams, that quick stop. They throw it line of scrimmage. They get 8 yards every time on it, and we've never had that like short to intermediate throw that good just that back pocket play that we have, and that would be awesome to be able to have that with Carson Wentz and company. To your point, love that.
I don't want to divert the conversation too much, but just to kind of hype it up. But I'm sure with your listeners, Cole Turner, man, Cole Turner was pretty solid today. I was really happy watching him. He was out with the ones a lot today. Like I didn't notice John Bates today, but I noticed Cole Turner. There was a lot of those two second phase of that offense was a lot of check downs, like early quick packages, and Cole Turner was eating up, caught 3 or 4 balls today. It was kind of cool watching him. And then Dotson, man, Dotson doesn't drop a ball. It was awesome watching him catch with his hands. So those are two people I walked away with impressed with by today's practice.
Jahan Solo, baby.
Just took the next question straight out of my mouth, man. I was going to say, besides Cole, who was it that jumped out the most at you, for better or worse? But I guess that's Dotson. Anybody else that really kind of stood out today?
So it's funny. So the easy answer is going to be Cole Turner, Jahan Dotson. I thought Dotson was as advertised. Another one that like under the radar, and I was totally surprised that I felt this way, was Corn Elder, dude. I was like, what the hell? Like he walked into practice. Okay. Yeah, he was balling today, dude. Corn Elder was balling today. I had no idea. Like he came in and it was like what they're doing is rotating the quarterbacks every few reps, and like there was a stretch where like Corn Elder was just dominating. It's like, where the hell is this coming from? And it was like an out pattern where he like dove like vertical, like horizontal to the ground, smacking the ball out of the wide receiver's hands. And then there's another one like immediately afterwards where he knocked the ball down. He did the whole like no fly zone thing. It was hilarious. Where's Gordon Elder coming from? So that was cool to watch him do that.
Well, it was to kind of branch off of that. My bad, Kyle. But Benjamin St. Juste, it was said that like all offseason, that's who Jahan Dotson had a lot of problems with. But then yesterday when the Commanders posted that deep touchdown from Wentz to Jahan Dotson, he was going up against Benjamin St. Juste. Did he flash at all at any other points, Benjamin St. Juste?
So I didn't want to say he flashed today, but one thing I noticed today was he was our starter in base package. Like our base package that I saw today was the nickel package, and it wasn't the Buffalo nickel. It was our 2 corners, William Jackson and Kendall Fuller, and then it was BSJ, just basically at slot. He was playing the whole time. He did a good job, and even that one deep shot with whoever it was it Brent? Yeah, he was on him. He was covering whoever it was, McLaurin or Dotson, whoever it was, and it was fine. But he looked good. It was I don't know how deep you want me to get into it, but he played a lot, and then eventually Khaleke Hudson and we saw Derek Forrest. They were on the field a lot too. They were constantly kind of trying them out and trying to see where they fit in the scheme, and it was cool watching. It was cool.
Yeah, and then probably the reason you didn't see Bates is that he got banged up a little bit. Just a little knick-knack injury is what Coach Rivera said in his press conference. So they were precautious with him and they held him out. But now our next question, George, I want to go to you first with this. This is from Andy Lockhart in our Discord chat server, in the UK. How do you feel about Khaleke Hudson outplaying Jamin Davis in camp so far? Are you concerned for Jamin?
I'm not concerned yet, and it's still early. So today, when out, watching practice, Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb got like all the starter reps, and that was kind of cool to see. Like you can tell that they're like deeply invested in them right now, and we'll see how far they progress. But like Khaleke Hudson never rolled out there with Holcomb; it was always Davis and Holcomb every single time. Then they'd come off, and then it'd be Mayo and Hudson as the Will and the Mike.
So he's the backup Will, yeah.
He's a backup Will. So that seemed established. It didn't seem like it was in question right now. And I think they're going to roll with Davis. So I wouldn't say, neither one of them shined today. They played nice linebacking coverage, but it wasn't like a dominant anything. But I don't see a controversy yet. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
I'm right there with you. They're giving Jamin Davis a bunch of snaps. Coach Vera said he needs experience. He needs that. So obviously taking away snaps from him wouldn't be smart. And I'm guessing, Andy, that you probably heard that that Hudson got a lot of snaps today, like George had said earlier at the Buffalo nickel. Maybe that's why you thought that he took over for it. But I absolutely love that idea. If Coach Rivera and Jack Del Rio are maybe thinking of using Khaleke Hudson as that Buffalo nickel, maybe like a heavy package, like a heavy Buffalo nickel, if that makes sense, where Benjamin St. Juste comes off and it's Khaleke Hudson. But I love that idea. But I don't think Jamin Davis is losing out just yet. I don't think Hudson has done enough to warrant that starter Will spot. I think Jamin has that linked up just with his athleticism athleticism alone and what he does against tight ends and in coverage, I think that he has that spot legit.
And one anecdote, Kyle, sorry to interrupt you. Like, he ran off the field, and like I actually talked to him, like, whatever BS talk when he ran by. He seemed very confident. He wasn't like a shy, like, what am I doing here type of rookie. He was like, winking. He's like, yeah, I got this. He's just very, very confident. So Davis doesn't seem discouraged from last year, which is a good thing. At least anecdotally, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's huge. Especially, I mean, Khaleke Hudson. Khalek's not really a scrub. I'm surprised people didn't talk about him more this offseason. I mean, if you look, I know college is college. No, but nobody really talked about him.
Right.
He was somebody, I mean, in college, he set the NCAA record for most tackles for a loss. Like, if you can get this guy on the field, you do it. You do it at any point. I think Buffalo, something of that nature, Kyle, like you said, in the heavy nickel package, I think would be ideal. But yeah, I don't think he's going to take away any snaps from Jamin necessarily.
What do you think, Todd?
I mean, I don't know that there's anything that I can add that you guys haven't already hit on.
Good job, Todd. You did that perfect. But I want to
thank you, boys. Thank you guys for the heavy lifting.
But that being said, that means this next question is going directly to you first. This is from Jeff Miles at Discord chat server. Early 2023 draft prediction. Based on the team as is, what position do you see us drafting in the first round next year? It's way too early, we all know, but I like the way Jeff thinks.
I like it.
This is a fun game. What position are we going to draft way too early? Smart money says defensive line.
We're going to end up in the first round.
Oh, pick 32. No. I think we'll end up somewhere in the mid to late teens, if realistically, and we'll probably end up taking. No, I'm going to say we're going to trade that and some other
don't say
valuable picks. Of course. That's fine. Let them flip out. What are they going to do? Tweet me. That's fine. And he's already doing it. We're going to trade a bunch, and we're going to take CJ Stroud, quarterback, first round. Why not? Let's go.
Yeah, when I did the season prediction, I was obviously very optimistic about this team, and I still feel the same way. So I do think that they're going to have probably in the low 20s, but I feel like this team has the recipe, you could say, to catch fire late in the season. And I'm not saying that they couldn't go on a Super Bowl run. I'm not saying that, but I think that they have the talent on paper that if things fall where they may, if they do catch fire randomly, which we've seen with these kind of gritty teams that get together with these new kind of quarterbacks, they could go on a run. How far, I do not know, but I do think that they will be probably in the low 20s if they play accordingly based on the schedule that is presented in front of them. But the number one issue is health. Obviously, there's a bunch of injuries happening all at once. There's guys returning, guys almost coming back, and then guys starting to get on the injury report. So injuries are the biggest issue because whoever's healthiest at the end of the season generally is the one playing in the Super Bowl. What do you think, George?
I think they're going to invest in the offensive line. I think they're going to probably do, left tackle would be ideal. I mean, I know they love Charles Leno, but he's a little bit older. He's about 30 years old, so they maybe get an investment in there. They wouldn't be mad at investing at a left guard or right guard because both of our guys are, Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell are pretty old now. But yeah, I think that's the way to go. They've spent a lot of time on defense. Maybe, if a nice safety falls or a cornerback depth falls, but I think it's going to probably be offensive line. That's what I expect.
Hey, I didn't answer your question, Jeff. I read it terribly, but I'll say cornerback. I think they'll draft a corner.
Yeah. So I'm here. It really depends on a few things. I mean, if this team completely falls flat on their face, they're going to be looking at a quarterback. Like Todd said, hey, even if they do well and Carson doesn't live up to expectations, they're going to be looking at a quarterback. I think that's the one position on this team that you can look at and say, if you got one of these young sets, if you got a Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud, it could really bring you to the next level for the next 5-10 years. But yeah, I mean, let's just say everything goes according to plan. We're picking in the low to mid 20s. I like O-line and secondary, kind of like you guys said, but I feel like that's kind of a cheat answer now. But yeah, I guess I'll go with those. I almost wanted to say receiver based on it, depending on Curtis Samuel, but I feel like, I mean, we can't go back-to-back wide receivers first round. So
I'm
going to
disappointed
go O-line.
in you guys. I'm disappointed in you guys because the hot take would have been edge rusher. It was out there. It was out there waiting for you guys, and it wasn't selected. But our next
question, I went hot enough. I'm sorry.
Nah, it's okay. But our next question is going to you, George. And this is from our guy, Brant. It's looking more like Chase Young is going to miss 6 games. Who do you think starts in his place, Obata or James Smith-Williams? Also, do you think the defense will have a better start this year?
All right. So in regard to starting, I think it will be James Smith-Williams. I know there are people out there like D Ford actually sprung loose yesterday in free agency and Anthony Barr, but Ron Rivera tends to stick with his guys. He's pretty loyal, and I think he likes to build a program. So he kind of wants to invest in his youth right now. James Smith-Williams was out a lot with the ones today. Daniel Wise came off the bench a little bit too, so I can see them going that route. I do like F.A. Obata. I do think he's going to be a pretty he's going to open some eyes, I think, for Washington. He's going to have a couple sacks this year. He's going to move up and down the line, but I think James Williams would be the guy. And then in regard to that second part of the question, early on, I think the defense will do pretty well because they have a pretty easy lineup, right? They start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Lions, so there really isn't a lot of firepower there. You never know, but I think they start off pretty easy. Then it gets to the Eagles and then Cowboys. But I think he does have a little. I think we'll start off pretty well. If they don't, it's going to be a pretty hot seat for Jack Del Rio. I think he needs to start stepping it up a little bit, and we have all the talent in the world. It's time to step it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you about James Smith-Williams and Obata. Obviously, Casey Hill is there as well. He obviously didn't have a great year, but I do think it's going to be a healthy mix of those guys, continuing to make sure they're fresh when they come in rotation. You're probably going to see a lot of snaps from Montez Sweat and maybe some exchange with Daniel Wise in that breath. I think Daniel Wise was very effective from that spot last season when Montez Sweat was out. And so you could definitely see that being used in the rotation of those guys. Then finding if one guy catches fire, then yeah, keep them there. Otherwise, just keep them all fresh and keep them rotating. And then I do think the defense, I'm not going to say that they are going to start better, but I will say they need to start better because the offense, obviously, like we've seen, the offense needs time to gel. They need time to figure each other out, right? The defense is winning right now because they have more experience. They talk to each other. They know how each other are feeling. They have less spots that they have turnover at, you could say. So it's easier for them. So they need to come in early on the season and make it easy for the offense to gel. So they have to be able to keep other offenses at bay to allow our offense to catch up a little bit. And so they're going to have to do that in the first couple games, without a doubt, in week 4 as well. But hopefully that does happen. What do you think, Reed?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I think it'll be a good mixture of F.A. Obata and James Smith-Williams. I do think Obata will end up eventually winning out. I think that he's probably at this point more established, obviously more athletic, more talented. I mean, you might say more athletic. I know that James Smith-Williams is no slouch, but I really think that he's somebody who has a lot to prove. He did fantastic last year, and I mean, to your point, George, Ron does like to stick with his guys. Ron also brought in Obata to Carolina, I believe,
yeah, he did.
3 years ago, his last year there. So, I mean, I could see that, but I do completely agree. I think he would want to play his younger guys and kind of stick with them. But I think Obata is going to end up being a good bet. And Kyle kind of, I mean, what else can you say? You hit the nail on the head, like joke. Always.
Yeah, such a stupid.
It's like, why are we even here? 90% of the
time. I'm just here just to sit and fill in a square. Like Kyle just can say everything. It's fine.
Yeah. You look beautiful, Todd. You're doing a great
I appreciate
job,
that. Thank you.
This question is from Twitter
nice head.
By Hercules.
Loving it bald.
So Todd, people have been meh about the revised fight song. So I did what the Bills did to Shout and used Indestructible by Disturbed to make a song we can at least play at the start of the game. Do you and the gang like the sound of that?
Mixed with Disturbed?
Yeah, Indestructible by Disturbed playing as our opening song.
Sure. That sounds great. Let's find a song. I personally love the fact that we're keeping basically Hail to the Redskins and changing the words a little bit. Everyone wants to keep the
means like a
base
song
of the
that
team.
You play like when you run out of the tunnel.
Oh, like a big hype song?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
got you.
And,
you know what? Let's just start new traditions. Great. Love it. I don't pick a song, any song that's going to get everyone running and hype and that you can jump to. I don't care what song it is.
I love Disturbed. Indestructible I probably wouldn't use as the opener. There's a couple other songs out there that are very easy that you could do as openers that aren't mainstream, that aren't driven into the ground already, that people will tune off when they hear it. Has to be something new, something fresh that it really does get the juices going. And I've said this so many times, A Change of Seasons by Dream Theater. It's about a 2-minute long intro. The song itself is like 24 minutes, but the intro you could use for games is about 2 minutes long there, and I think it'd be absolutely perfect. What do you think, George?
I don't really care that much to be honest with you, man. I don't know. I don't really care that much.
Being respectful.
No, I understand being inclusive and stuff, and I get enough for sure. But I like the I didn't know he meant it in that regard. In regard to like a run out song, that's pretty cool. I don't mind like Hail to the Commanders, whatever. I mean, if people are happy with that, roll with it. A run out song, that's pretty cool. Why not, right? I wouldn't mind some hip hop. I'm more of a hip hop kind of guy. Let's put some Rick Ross out there. They get pumped up and they can run out of the field. I'd be cool with that. But yeah, whatever. Oh, yeah, exactly. But we'll see what's up, man. So I don't look at that much. It's all good.
Yeah.
Whatever the fans want.
Yeah, I mean, no, I consider myself a disturbed kind of gal. So, I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with anything. The fight song, I like it. It's one of those things where everybody was going to complain no matter what. If they strayed too far away,
100%.
Redskins, it would have been, whoa, they're not showing respect to the past. If they kept it like that they are, then it's so that is what it is. But for
do you guys have
song? What about that song from Rent, that 525,600 minutes?
There's a skip on the field.
Yeah,
hold hands.
Like this is a year long.
Very intimidating. Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's about something.
I've said it for a while, man. I know that the rebrand and everything, they wanted to be able to covet to the older fan base that still has the traditional ties, and no disrespect to them, but it was like you needed to just rip the Band-Aid off, and it was unfortunate that it trying to appease everybody, and it just no one is going to be satisfied.
It's one of those things where no matter what,
No.
people are going to complain about everything. So what they should do is they should use either tub thumping, that I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Do we get up that often
always
now?
down?
Yeah. No, we don't really get up that often, but it could be cool, I think, for the 90s fans.
The only thing I'm frustrated with, I don't really care about the whole Hail to the Commanders, whatever. I mean, I think, honestly, a couple of drinks down, if we start scoring against the Cowboys, I'm going to sing whatever the hell song it's going to be.
Exactly.
I don't really
right.
mind that. It just, like, the only thing I get upset with, and I'm pretty pro Jason Wright and all that, but, like, they spent, like, hopefully, they said they were going to get a, high-end composer and money and investing to kind of revamp this song, and they literally just changed 3 words to the song. So that's why I'm like, what happened? Like, I really I don't understand. A little bit
more. Right.
Look us up, Hail to the Commanders and Hail to the Redskins. That's all it was, and like, I feel like they could have, do something different. But
I will say one of the lines of the songs does make it sound like we're like bowing down to a communist regime. Where it's like, all right, yes, Mother Russia, yes, bow down to your leaders, yes, bow down to your commanders. Yes.
Exactly. Number 1.
Absolutely brutal, dude. I know. I don't really care all that much with it. I sang the song at the games when it was on, but it wasn't like a make or break for me. You know what I mean?
It's not on my iPod.
But I understand. One guy made a good
It
point.
was my ringtone for a long time.
Well, that's cool though.
And one guy made a good point where basically he said that that's our thing. As much as you could whatever say about songs and hype songs about that, what teams and like the Eagles do, it's lame, but it's our thing, and we're lame. You could say
could be worse. We could have the Dolphins fight song. Have you heard their fight song?
They actually have a fight song?
It's like a dolphin. It's like
Miami Dolphins, the greatest football team. Miami Dolphins. Yeah, it's terrible.
That's it.
They played it at the stadium. Yeah.
I really thought you were joking.
They have a T-Pain version of it out though. No, yeah, they have a T-Pain version out though. It's pretty chill.
I'm not gonna lie though. One last thing, like they actually, I'm sure you guys saw it. There was like a release of the band practicing like in the concourse like one night, and that was actually that kind of hit a little bit. I was like, oh man, I kind of missed it. Like that Hail to the Redskins. It was kind of cool to hear that beat. So we'll see what's up, man. We'll see what happens.
Anytime I see Chief Z, anything with Chief Z on it hits me in the feels. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah, look, it's unfortunate, but look, I know what you're saying, George, and you're smart for pointing that out about them. But I feel like the unfortunate part about it is they understood that they could have all of that, the composer and all that jazz, but they have to use the format of the old. And you can't change too much because then you're changing around sentences and rhyming doesn't work and stuff. So I'm sure it was a very tricky situation. But to your point, there hasn't been a lot of evidence of it, what they said was going to happen, to your point, and we have to be truthful about it. But to wrap up, this last question is from Yamstarch in our Discord chat server. What do you think about so many of the 1s and 2s being out and so many rookies stepping up, taking number 1 reps in training camp already, George?
I'm trying to think about where that is. I'm trying to think of where the big 1s and 2s are coming in. Kind of help me out a little bit. Like I'm trying to help me out, guys. So like all the starters, I feel like. Okay, those guys. Okay.
Trey Turner going down. Chase Young.
Oh yeah, so I'd say the offensive lineman and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at it from that perspective, I'm not too worried because it is really early on in camp, right? Second or third practice. We have a good 6 weeks left till, I think the first game's in mid-September anyway. A lot of those guys you just mentioned were all like veterans that are like 30 plus and stuff like that. They've been around the league, so I'm not too worried about it. And at the same time, it's actually pretty good, right? 17-game season, injuries are going to happen. It's good to get some exposure and get some playing time. So not the end of the world for me.
Absolutely. And the other one I didn't bring up was Antonio Gibson sat out today of team practice.
Right. But like you said, like on the offensive line and tight end, like those are some pretty deep positions that we have. So with some young guys that you want to get exposure, you want to play. So I think it's good, kind of like you said, to get that out of the way now, kind of get those young guys in, get some reps. I know, especially at tight end. I mean, you look at Curtis Hodges or Monty Rogers, same as Reyes. Those guys need all the reps that they can get. So I think it's a good thing, and it'll be all right.
Yeah, and especially
one thing for.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was
just so like go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Go Kyle.
George,
Go ahead.
George, you're committed.
Go ahead. Okay, I got it. I'll go. I was gonna say Antonio Gibson was actually really cool today. He actually was. I didn't expect that from him. Yeah, I thought like for some reason I kind of thought he like was kind of like standoffish for some reason or another. But he was really, really cool. Like he ran up, like took pictures, like signing autographs. He didn't really practice, but like he spent a lot of time with the fans today. And that was a different side of him that I didn't expect. That's all.
Last time we went, Montez Sweat and Chase Young called me a fed.
I remember that.
Yeah, and they're like, "Man, what you doing here? You fed?" And Chase started laughing because Montez said that, and I was like, "I'm not fed." What? Like how
what are you talking
disappear into the crowd? Like, no?
You're absolutely ridiculous, dude. But I will say, like, with Antonio Gibson last season, he played through injury, right? And you don't want him to get possibly injured in practice. And Brian Robinson, you want to see what he can do, obviously. So you want to get Brian Robinson more snaps in there. And then the same thing with Curtis Samuel. Obviously, he was injured last season. I have no issue with them being precautious about his injury. This is training camp. You want to get your reps in. But at the same time, you don't want to force these guys too much. It's like if let's say you were a drag racer, right? And like you're building up this car, you got this concept car, and you're going out for competitions. And last year, your engine blew. You got a brand new one. You rebuilt it. Now you're going back out to the race. And you go to practice. Yeah, you're going to burn it up the first couple times. But then you're like, all right, I can't do that every time because I got to ease this thing back. It's brand new, right? Same thing with Curtis Samuel. Pull back a little bit on the levers and don't let him overexert himself because those other muscles could easily pop. That's something like Junior Gillette we learned, right? He had tore that Achilles, worked really hard to get back. When he came back, he popped the other one because of how hard his muscles were. So you got to pull it back just a little bit, personally. Got anything to add, Reed?
No.
Good thing. Way to end this episode. George, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and joining us last minute to talk about your day at training camp. I'm sure it was a very long one. It was hot. I know it was overcast. Maybe some showers are sprinkled in there, but I hope you had a great time, brother. It looked like a lot of fun.
Thanks, brother. I really did. It was a good time, man. It's also fun to see fans. Everyone's real laid back and real chill when they're actually out there. So it was a good time. Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Absolutely, guys. All right, everybody. Have a good night. I'm Kyle.
I'm old dad.
Okay.
I'm Todd.
All right, everybody. We will see you again on Monday. Have a safe weekend and follow George for all the recaps this weekend.
That's an alarm on my phone that goes off whenever Kyle messes up.
What?
I have a notification.
What did I do wrong?
I don't know.
That was
This
bad.
is the perfect way to end this episode.
All right, everybody. We'll see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Washington football. Woo! All right, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!